Pick up any food in this store, flip it over. I guarantee you'll find two words somewhere on that label, natural flavors. You probably assume that means fruit, or something from a plant, something wholesome. Here's the problem. The Food and Drug Administration's own definition of natural flavor allows for over 3,000 different additives, and companies are not required to tell you which ones. In the next 9 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what those two words mean legally, what can actually be hiding behind them, and why your brain is wired to fall for it every single time. Here's a fun game. Go to your pantry right now. Pause this video, I'll wait. Count how many products say natural flavors. I did this last week. I found it on 11 things. Sparkling water, protein powder, baby snacks, products that market themselves as clean and minimally processed. This is not a niche thing. Natural flavors is the fourth most common ingredient on food labels in the United States. It shows up more than sugar, more than salt. But most people have no idea what it actually means. They see the word natural, they feel good, they move on. That little mental exhale when you see natural on a label, that's not you being rational. That's your brain running an ancient shortcut, and the food industry has spent decades learning how to trigger it on purpose. By the end of this video, you're going to understand the full picture. What the legal definition actually says, what's allowed inside those two words, and the psychological mechanism that makes natural flavors one of the most effective pieces of marketing language ever invented. Here's the answer first. Natural flavors are not a description of an ingredient. They are a regulatory category. In 1977, the FDA published a definition. It says a natural flavor is any substance derived from a natural source, such as fruit, vegetables, meat, fish, dairy, eggs, herbs, spices, or fermentation products whose primary function is flavoring, not nutrition. That's it. That's the whole thing. Notice what's missing. There is no requirement that the ingredient be healthy. There is no requirement that it be minimally processed. There is no requirement that it bear any resemblance to the natural thing it came from. There are no requirements about health or processing. Let's use strawberry as an example. A real strawberry gets its flavor from more than 350 volatile chemical compounds. When a flavor company wants to make strawberry flavor, they can pick any of those compounds, derive them from a natural source, maybe a different plant, maybe a fungus, maybe yeast fermentation, combine them in a lab, and legally call the result natural flavor. A strawberry flavor can be legally labeled natural, even if the specific compounds came from other natural sources. Your strawberry yogurt may have never been within a mile of a strawberry. And here's the kicker. Flavor companies aren't required to disclose the specific ingredients inside a natural flavor blend. It's protected as a trade secret. The FDA only requires that the end product be safe. What's actually in it? That's between the company and their flavor house. So what's actually allowed inside? That's where it gets genuinely strange. The FDA maintains something called the GRAS list, which stands for Generally Recognized as Safe. There are approximately 3,000 substances on it that qualify as natural flavor ingredients. Most are totally benign. Vanilla extract, citrus oils, herb distillates, nothing scary, but the list also includes things that would make most people do a double take. Castoreum, that's a secretion from beaver scent glands. It smells like vanilla. It has been used in food for over a century, and it is legally a natural flavor. Carmine, a red dye made from crushed cochineal insects, shows up in some fruit juices and yogurts. These are not the norm, but they are legal, and you would never know from the label. Now here's the part most food videos skip. The bigger issue is not the exotic stuff, it is processing. Natural flavor extracts can involve high heat, solvents, and chemical reactions during manufacturing. The FDA does not regulate the process, only the source material. So a natural flavor that went through 14 processing steps to become an isolated chemical compound is still natural because it started from a plant. Think about that. A synthetic flavor made from petrochemicals has to pass stricter disclosure rules than a heavily processed natural one. The word natural actually gets less scrutiny, not more. So if the ingredient isn't what people think, why does everyone keep trusting the label? That answer isn't about food, it's about your brain. Psychologists have a name for the bias here. It's called the naturalistic heuristic, the mental shortcut that says natural equals safe, good, healthy. It's ancient. Evolutionarily, it made sense. Natural things were familiar. Unfamiliar things were sometimes dangerous. So our brains built a quick rule. If it came from nature, relax. The problem is that rule was built for a world without food. Marketing departments. There is a phenomenon in psychology called processing fluency. The easier something is to mentally process, the more trustworthy it feels. Short words, familiar words, words that don't make you think. Natural flavors are 3 syllables. You have seen that phrase 1,000 times. Your brain processes it in milliseconds and files it under fine. Meanwhile, propylene glycol, alginate, also an approved food additive and also quite safe, sounds terrifying because it takes cognitive effort to process. Same safety profile, completely different emotional response. That gap is not logic, that gap is fluency. The food industry figured this out. They did not stumble into natural flavors as a category name, they kept it. They pushed it onto front-of-pack marketing. Made with natural flavors. Only natural flavors. As if that phrase does any nutritional work. It does not. It does psychological work. You are not being lied to. The label does not say this is healthy, it says natural flavors. But your brain hears healthy anyway, because of a shortcut that is millions of years old. And the food industry is counting on that every single time. So what do you do with this? Most natural flavors are harmless. The FDA safety framework, while imperfect, does work. You are almost certainly not eating anything dangerous. But dangerous and transparent are 2 different things. Here is what I want you to walk away with. Natural flavors on a label is not. It is the absence of information, dressed up in a reassuring costume. It tells you nothing about what compounds are actually in your food, how they were made, or whether they serve any purpose beyond making you buy the product again. Here is the real insight. The most powerful marketing language is not language that convinces you of something. It is language that stops you from asking questions. Natural flavors does not convince you the food is healthy. It just makes you stop asking what is in it. You can argue with a claim. You cannot argue with a word that already made you feel fine. Next time you see natural flavors, you do not need to throw the product back on the shelf. Just notice the feeling, notice that little exhale, and ask yourself, am I okay with not knowing what this is? That awareness alone puts you ahead of 95% of people in that grocery store. If this changed how you think about food labels, subscribe. I go deep on ingredient science every week. And if you want to keep pulling this thread, I made a video on seed oils using the exact same framework. It's linked right here. I'll see you in that one.